Good morning and welcome to this episode of Rebel Lens. It is Tuesday, August 19th of 2025. Today we are just going to jump straight into it. If you were here for the last episode, it was a little bit unconventional just because I was kind of catching up with some stuff. I spent way more time catching up on Fox News than I would generally like to. If you want to go back and check that out, I have uploaded it to YouTube already. But if you want to skip the whole Fox News roundup, I could not blame you for that. So, with just today, reported by Al Jazeera, there are at least 26 more deaths by Israeli attacks in Gaza. It is currently 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. It is obviously quite a bit later than that over there, but regardless, there have been 26 killed in Israeli attacks today. 8 of them were in a tent encampment for displaced families in Khan Yunis. Another 4 of them were in a different tent encampment outside in Deir al-Balah. In Deir al-Balah. That's what it is. Deir and then space al-Balah. That's as close as I want to get, and as much so I want to embarrass myself in the pronunciation end. Another 2 were shot and killed seeking aid at a GHF site, which is at this point very clearly just another one of Israel's weapons. It is just a death trap. The fact that people have to go there because some people do get food is terrible, and the fact that they're just giving just enough people food to give them hope and keep them coming, even though they know that they might get shot and killed by Israeli military on the way there, it's disgusting. It's incredible that we're in this position, but we are. So stay aware, keep putting pressure on the people you can, use whatever power and platform you have. That's all we can do. So I'm going to jump straight into this. The headline is correct here. It says Hamas accepts new ceasefire proposal. Now that does not mean there's ceasefire because Israel still has to accept, and it doesn't sound like they are going to. But I'm going to jump into this real quick and just let him go. It's only a 2.5-minute video, so I'll jump in maybe halfway through or so.
And Minister of Foreign Affairs Mohammed bin Abdurrahman Al Thani in Cairo. In a statement, Egypt's presidency said both leaders stressed the importance of efforts to reach a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. They've also rejected Israel's plan to reoccupy the Strip and forcibly displace Palestinians. They've affirmed that establishing a Palestinian state,
as has the entire world, nobody is okay with Israel's plan except for the United States. And unfortunately, the United States are the only one that matters. So they just get to do whatever they want.
Is the path to peace. Egypt, Qatar, and the US have been mediating ceasefire discussions between Israel and Hamas. Now, Hamas source has told Al Jazeera that they have accepted the terms of the ceasefire proposal presented by mediators on Sunday. Handa Sahut is live person of mine. She's following the story from Jordan's capital because the Israeli government's banned Al Jazeera from reporting inside Israel and in the occupied West Bank. Dara was just saying that
I really like that they drive that home every single time that they bring up where they're reporting from. Just the constant hammering that Israel is silencing journalists, and even though they are obeying that and staying outside of Gaza, or staying outside of Israel and the occupied West Bank, Israel is still killing the journalists that work for Al Jazeera. So take that in. Everyone is following the rules they are laying out, and they're still attacking and killing them because that is their MO.
Tariq was just saying that there's speculation in Gaza that one of the reasons the Israelis haven't mounted their assault on Gaza City yet is possibly to allow for some sort of negotiation. Are we hearing anything from the Israeli side about this latest announcement?
Well, this news just coming in that Hamas has reportedly agreed to a partial ceasefire proposal. It's worth mentioning that these discussions happening in the Egyptian capital under immense pressure and a lot of scrutiny to try and scramble to get some sort of deal together to stop the fighting. It's worth mentioning that in the last several days in Israeli media, there have been talks of Netanyahu reportedly willing to have some sort of partial deal, meaning not a total and complete end to the war, but
Now that would be a switch from what he said previously. He's previously stated that they are no longer interested in any partial deals. There will be no ceasefires. They're just interested in a total end to the war or nothing. And of course, I'm using his word when I say war. It is a genocide. And saying it is not or calling it anything else is disingenuous.
a pause in the fighting, saying that he would lean that way if it was in Israel's best interest. But Netanyahu had outlined several different things that he wanted if there were to be an end of the war. And in fact, just around a week ago, he released a list of 5 different bullet points that Israel would need to end the war, that his goals and objectives were no longer 3, that they were 5. And of course, among them was the removal of Hamas, something Hamas says is simply not going to happen. So while all of this is ongoing,
I don't know what they think is going to happen if they get rid of Hamas. Like, you can think what you want about Hamas, but they are the only game in town at this point. I don't know who the other ruling party is going to be, and they've demolished any sort of structure that a governmental party or any sort of group of people could they've killed too many people and destroyed all the structures in Gaza. So I don't know how they expect any sort of like coalition government or any sort of government at all to come together if they were to allow Palestine to exist. And I think it's because they don't intend to allow Palestine to exist in any way. If they know that the disbanding of Hamas and or the destruction of Hamas or however they want to do it or call it would leave them totally without any sort of leaders. Hamas is the only group available to step up and run the place if they do ever get some sort of control over it. And that may need to be temporary depending on whatever their policies end up being and how people end up interacting with them. But like the total destruction of Hamas is ridiculous. That leaves no Palestinian military to defend them, and Israel just do the exact same thing.
You have members of Netanyahu's government who are against any sort of partial deal, who have said from the very beginning, since the last ceasefire deal collapsed, that there shouldn't be any more partial deals moving forward, that Israel needs to carry on with the expansion of its military
That's what I was quoting.
reaction. But right now, there's still no official response from the Israelis.
Handa, thank you very much indeed. Handa Sahut there, joining us from Amman.
Yeah, so that's that, and just a quick up to date on that. We're going to have some more Israel stuff by the end of this, but I do want to jump into the big deal from yesterday, being the Ukraine talk,
Well, I want to give you a
Ukraine-Russia
look at the main
talks.
sticking points in this. Putin wants
Get
Ukraine to
this
cede
over
all of
here.
the Donbas region, including areas under Ukrainian control. Trump has also told Zelensky.
It's crazy that Russia just gets to make these demands like they're not the aggressor and like they aren't the one who should be begging for mercy from the world stage, but they're still making demands because none of us have the balls to just step in and actually stop them. I mean, we can sanction the hell out of them, which we have, and that's great, but it clearly hasn't stopped them, and they are just trying to take over all of Ukraine and get rid of. If they, let's be real, if Ukraine gives up this much land, then in a few years, Russia's going to do the exact same thing, and they know they can do this. They know they can get away with this.
To drop the demand for Russia to return Crimea, which it illegally annexed in 2014. Now, Ukraine says it will not cede territory.
Right, like we're just gonna give them, we're gonna give Russia Ukraine back, or we're gonna let Russia keep Crimea and just not give it back to Ukraine, even though it was illegally annexed. And for that to just not even be on the table is crazy. It's just us saying, yes, you can go illegally annex whatever land you want, and then start a war of aggression and try to take more land. And if one of your demands is that you get to keep everything you take, and that's how you're going to get peace, then your war just worked. Like, it's not a negotiation. They just won.
And legally it can't under its constitution. President Zelensky says the
I believe what he's talking about there is the fact that Zelensky cannot, on his own, cede that land back. He would have to create an amendment to the Constitution and get some sort of approval. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's not something he can just sign away on his own. There is some governmental, bureaucratic stuff in the way.
current front lines could be the basis for a ceasefire while talks are held. Russia, however, has ruled out a ceasefire, saying fighting is only going to end with a comprehensive peace deal.
That's another strategy of Putin's. He says the fighting will only end because he just knows he can continue pressuring by creating more death and destruction and making it more and more untenable to continue fighting back, to continue pushing soldiers to the front lines. He knows that he's got the people to do it. I mean, this has been the Russian military strategy since the World Wars. It's just throw people into the meat grinder until the other side runs out of people. And the odds are pretty good that as long as you're Russia, you're not going to run out of soldiers before the other team does. And if he just says, well, we're not going to do a ceasefire, we're going to keep fighting and killing until there's a peace deal met that obviously gives him the things that he wants, he knows he can maintain that for a lot longer than Ukraine can. The pressure will only go up on Zelensky to give up everything that Putin is demanding, and Putin really won't face any internal or apparently any more external pressure. I mean, I don't know what we can do beyond sanctions at this point if no one's willing to actually get their military involved, and that could obviously be dangerous too. But I think we've proven that Russia's not quite as scary as we thought they were before this, and they really have not had the kind of success you would expect a military like we thought Russia's was to get so stuck on Ukraine and in regions that they have. So I don't think it's quite as scary as we thought before to end up intimidating Putin into escalating. But the problem remains that he has nuclear bombs, and he's a crazy person who's obsessed with himself and his legacy. So if he thinks the only way he can cement his legacy as a winner and a strong man and whatever is to just nuke a couple countries or wipe Ukraine off the map in a if we can't have it, nobody can style attack. I don't think that's totally unrealistic.
President Trump says Ukraine will not be allowed into NATO, one of Russia's key demands. Instead, it's going to receive security guarantees similar to NATO members. Ukraine says it needs clarity on how the guarantees are going to work. Maher is the Security Studies Program Director at Ukrainian Prism. It's a foreign policy and security think tank. She's joining us from Odessa in Ukraine. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. I want to pick up on that point about Ukrainian's constitution. If I understand it correctly, President Zelensky does not have the legal right to be able to cede control. It's down to the constitution, which says there has to be a referendum if the country is going to cede away any territory. How difficult is that going to make it for President Zelensky when it comes to these talks?
First of all, yes, it's not only constitution of Ukraine, but that's also the recognition by the Russian Federation, at least in 3 international treaties, the borders of Ukraine, the bilateral treaties, the treaties
That's right. That's what it is.
After that being signed. So we, for those that collapsed, for example, the Soviet Union, so the Russian Federation itself recognized Ukrainian borders. And to change...
Flown to Washington, D.C. to support Zelensky. It's also crazy to me that these European leaders saw how poorly Zelensky was treated last time he was here, last time he was at the White House and talking to Trump, and they're just like, okay, maybe we need to go back him up. The idea that our president is such a pain in the ass to work with and such an abusive, narcissistic asshole to the people who he interacts with on the world stage that they know they need the power of numbers to go and basically prevent him from bullying them. It's crazy.
Change Ukrainian constitution is very difficult process. It's not only the referendum when we speak about the territorial integrity. That's also quite a long process through the courts, through the parliament, through other procedures. So de facto, any changes can take up to 2 years if to follow all the procedures. And Ukraine is a democratic state. We are following the procedures according to the rule of law. So for the President Zelensky, I can't say that it would be difficult. That would be easy to stand in this position because the population of Ukraine completely supports him. Why we need to give up the territories that Russians even never occupied. And here...
Right. Also, they're demanding land that people probably currently live on, first off, and that they have not won. Like, this would not even be like okay, everybody just keeps what they've currently won and walks the other way. Like, they're asking him to give them things that haven't even been occupied.
Just 2 numbers. Since November 2022, Russia managed to occupy only 1% of the territory of Ukraine. And till now, after 11 years of aggression in Donbass, Russia occupied 75% of Donetsk region. So even after 11 years of warfare, they were not able to occupy one region in full. In this case...
Right, and that's what I'm talking about, about how we expected Russia to basically just roll over these guys, and I think Russia probably expected that too. The Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian army have shown an absurd amount of strength, an absurd amount of resistance in the face of a much, much larger enemy. And it's incredible that the ingenuity with which these drone attacks are being carried out, just all the ways they're defending themselves against this much, much larger enemy is really, really impressive. And I think that Russia and Putin are rightly a little bit scared and a little bit concerned that they would need to sacrifice a ton more soldiers to finish occupying just this one region that they've been trying to move on this whole time.
Is it concessions? Is it a compromise that is proposed to Ukraine, or just a pure surrender and gift to the Russian president?
Right. It's not a compromise at all. It's just a surrender. We're like, hey, please, please stop the war. In exchange, we'll give you everything you've already taken, the stuff you took 10 years ago, and some stuff that you haven't taken yet, if you just please stop. Like, that's such a reward for this gross aggression.
So in this case, the negotiations in Washington definitely will be difficult because we need to change this paradigm of conversation. Who is compromising, who is gifted during these negotiations.
And that's part of the difficulty, isn't it? We don't have a lot of details about what it might be discussed at the meetings this afternoon, but from the outside, it seems as though President Trump and President Putin seem to think that in order to stop the war,
I feel like right-wing people just like flock to Al Jazeera comment sections because they know they can trigger people. And I guess it works because it pisses me off constantly.
Essentially has to give Russia everything that Russia wants. Is there anything on the table from what we know so far that Ukraine might be able to agree to?
First of all, definitely we don't know all details. So we understand that the negotiations didn't went as expected, according to the moods during the press conference and the statements. However, the statements of the White House afterwards and those who were at the negotiations were not that much positive. And that's one of the reasons why the European partners are joining Ukraine today in Washington, because they need to explain that the Russian president was manipulating with the US president de facto, that he understood that Donald Trump would like deal, not peace. So the deal, the quick deal, is more important for him than the long-term consequences of what can be in this deal. And also that all these agreements are not just about Ukraine. They are about the whole Europe.
Right. Donald Trump just wants to be able to say he accomplished something and show it off on a world stage. And as he's said a million times, he thinks he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. So he really just wants something that he can show changed immediately. And that's kind of been his whole MO this whole time. It's just show action, regardless of the quality of it or what you're doing. It's just be as active as possible. Have as many changes to your credit as possible. Seems to be the strategy, and he's clearly not. We know for a fact that President Trump doesn't care about saving lives. It certainly doesn't care about Ukrainian lives. He just wants to cement his legacy here. So he's going to act in service of that. He's not trying to create a deal that is going to make a long-standing peace or that is going to convince Russia that they can't just behave this way on the world stage. He's just trying to do something that he can say, look, I did that. I stopped the war. And then if it starts again in 2028 or 2029, whatever, when someone else is in office, God, I hope somebody else is in office. If Putin just goes back and attacks you and you can say, see, look how weak that person is. We should have just kept me for another term. I should have gotten another term anyway. Let's revisit that. I mean, it's so transparent.
And, Russia felt the blood. Why they need to stop? They haven't stopped after Transnistria, after Abkhazia, after Ossetia, already breaking the sovereignty of two other states. So now with Ukraine, who said that the next country cannot be the EU or NATO member state?
I was just reading that in 2010, in the presidential election in Ukraine then, about 90% of voters in the Donbass region backed Viktor Yanukovych, who was a pro-Russian candidate. How do people in the Donbass region, given the fact that it seems to be a focus for these talks, feel about what could happen to their region?
First of all, I would disagree that the people of Donbass was pro-Russian or that the President Yanukovych at that time in 2010 was pro-Russian. He definitely had good relations with the Russian Federation. He was afraid of the
That was in 2010.
European integration because his regime was very corrupted. But at the same time, he was the guy whose signature is under our application to the NATO membership back in 2005. He is the guy who started negotiations for the European Union membership. And only after pressure from Putin in 2013, he rejected signing the association agreement in Vilnius. But if you look to the decisions and signatures that he put from 2005 to 2013, he made a lot of those first steps towards the NATO and EU integration. It was more about corruption, it was more about the surrounding, and it was more about the money from Russia. And
that's super unsurprising, given that she's saying he refused to sign the papers in 2013, and then Russia annexed Crimea in 2014.
Pressure from the Russian president that made him to change position in 2012, 2013.
Hannah Shellis, we appreciate it. Hannah Shellis is Security Studies Program Director at the Ukrainian Prison. Thank you very much indeed.
Don't miss out.
Okay, So that was, I think that's all I'm going to do on Ukraine, Russia. It's kind of all we got. I didn't see anything. I'm going through my news notes over here right now. Yeah, I didn't see anything that had come out yet today about any updates, and that was the most recent video, or the latest released video from last night. So I think that's all I'm going to have on them today. Oh, there was one more, actually. It was right after that. It said, optimism grows in Russia as diplomatic efforts raise hopes for a peace agreement. And there was just one thing that stuck out to me in here, so we'll do it pretty quick.
63-year-old Dmitry lives a retired life in his farmhouse outside Moscow. He wasn't a soldier, but volunteered to fight with Russia's paramilitary group Wagner, spending more than 2 years on the Ukrainian front. He doesn't like to be...
Here's where
We
he's
hope
talking.
that they will be able to end this bloody war and bring everyone home. It is a shame that there are so many victims of this war. Any war is terrible, but when it is for the truth, it is necessary.
That's the crazy part. Russia still, thinks it's justified in this war.
His government insists the war is necessary and an existential threat.
And B, thinks they are under existential threat. Like, from Ukraine? It's crazy. It's the same crap that Donald Trump is doing here. They just make up an enemy and then militarize the hell out of whatever city or area they need to in order to attack that enemy. Unfortunately for us, Donald Trump is using that military to attack his enemies inside the country, not to justify what Vladimir Putin's doing, but he's not he's not invading Russia himself, I guess.
After explaining that to Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin has briefed his cabinet and international allies. The foreign ministry says after years of Russia's so-called isolation, a red carpet welcome in the US plunged Europe into frenzy, leaving it scrambling for a seat at the table.
So, yeah, that's what I have on that one for today. So I'm going to pop this one back down just because that's getting kind of big. We do have some more stuff to go over. I want to hit... what was this one? This guy. I haven't watched this yet, so we are getting into stuff that I'm just reacting to live with you. But this is the Young Turks reporting on Gal Gadot. I assume refusing yet again to acknowledge that she cannot act. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
My name is Gal, and I'm Jewish.
So brave.
Isn't it crazy that just saying that, just expressing such a simple fact about who I am, feels like a controversial statement?
No one cares that you're Jewish. They care that you're a Zionist. They care that you want Palestinians dead.
But sadly, this is where we're at today.
We can agree that it's sad.
Is it?
Yay.
Well, that was actress Gal Gadot. I had never seen that video before. I assure you, you can announce that you're Jewish and no one will be upset about that. But
in fact, you'll.
Yeah. In fact, I'm sure he's about to say it. But in fact, you'll apparently get a giant round of applause. And she's speaking at the ADL, the Always Defaming League. Always Defaming Legion, whatever a song called it.
That no one else gets in America.
That's true.
Like, our lives are not protected. Your feelings are protected by Congress and every college.
I'm not here for them.
Nobody's giving you pushback for being Jewish. Some of the best fighters for peace in America, never again, right? And they say, never is now.
What are we talking
like before?
Yeah, what? Never is now.
No, because the statement used to be never again, right? Now I guess this new slogan is never is now, as long as we're doing it. But I don't know why I'm getting pushback.
Nah,
nobody's giving you
joke.
Did flop.
No one cares.
Now she thinks it flopped because of her unwillingness to speak out against Israel. So before we get to,
I think it flopped because she's terrible, but I haven't watched it and I'm not going to watch it. So I guess it's anyone's choice.
her most recent comments, let's hear what she said at the ADL's Never Is Now summit. This was 2.5 weeks.
Oh, never is now is real. That wasn't a joke? Holy sh! That's crazy. Never again, except never is now. Wow. Wow.
Before the movie came out on March 4th. Take a look.
And never did I imagine that on the streets of the United States and different cities around the world, we would see people not condemning Hamas, but celebrating, justifying, and cheering on a massacre of Jews.
What about the massacre of Palestinians? What about the genocide of Palestinians? What about the 62,000 dead Palestinians in the past 22 months? That number just came out yesterday. We have crossed 62,000, more than 260 from starvation.
The Jewish people are an ancient people with an ancient story in an ancient homeland. We are the people that celebrate life. We work to see.
I could just put together an hour compilation of children in hospitals because of Israel. You do not celebrate life.
Better and more peaceful future. We challenge.
A more peaceful future does not have Israel in it. I think this is probably all I can do. Gal Gadot, you can still absolutely get it. Just email me at pleasehatepipemeaustin@gmail.com. I will make sure that I have that by the time you get wind of this.
Hate when we.
That's all we got here, though. This Hassan, yeah, let's put the Hassan video in. I'm sure it's not going to cheer us up, but he's funny, so let's see what's going on. Apparently, Destiny wants him to be dead. That's what I gathered from the thumbnail.
You're not trying to bring your mood down or anything, but this is going way too far at this point. You should totally get the police involved. Oh, this. So if I started saying Hassan is Hamas propagandist and therefore a legit military target, which, by the way, he does say that.
Right, I think I've seen Ethan say that.
What? He says that every day, which I do not believe. Everyone is going to be okay with that. This is the fourth time a leftist Twitch streamer has explicitly called for me or Hila's death. Nobody has been reprehended for these death threats by Twitch, not once. I've never called for a death threat.
I watch, admittedly, too much Hassan. You will notice that I have taken some of his jokes and mannerisms. It's not my fault. It happens. He has never called for violence against these people.
Against Ethan Klein.
I've never seen him call for violence against anyone, except maybe the Israeli government as a whole. But I'm not even sure if he specifically called for that, and I don't think I should say out loud that he has, because I don't know.
Or Hila Klein. That is insane. That's bullshit, and he knows that that's bullshit. He's just actively trying to victimize himself. For comparison, on YouTube, Bad Empanada played an FPS game where he played Hamas murder Israelis. He simulated murdering Hila in a game, resulting in a week-long suspension. I don't even think that happened. It's not something that I believe. It's complete and utter nonsense. You're literally getting drama farmed. Holy f***, no one cares about these losers. Stop giving them time.
I don't know. I kind of find it entertaining. It breaks up the monotony of the news.
I mean, if they're trying to actively try to get me banned, I think it's important.
There's that too. And apparently calling for violence.
Completely made up. It's utterly delusional. It's ironically something that Ethan himself has said he believes. What is going on? What? Even the Nazis weren't this blatant? This is just far beyond the pale. It's actually unbelievable. Honestly, think you could perfectly justify attacking and killing Hassan IRL for statements like this.
Wow, there it is. That's Destiny. Good God, Sex Pestiny. That's right. That's the new name. Ugh. Holy hell.
Cyber stalker cult community leader is saying that it's justifiable to attack and kill me in real life. That's definitely actionable, I'm pretty sure. It's also weird that this guy have a YouTube account. He said that today. Wait, that's today. So we're going to talk about this, the full context and the clip itself?
So this came out 2 days ago. Or no, the stream was 2 days ago. This came out yesterday. Got it.
Literally say if it were a part of an active raid in the West Bank or
if you're going to talk about this, the full context and in the clip itself, you literally say if it were part of an active raid in the West Bank or Gaza, that'd be a valid military target.
For Gaza, that'd be a valid military target is so dumb. What the? One of his active cyber stalking sex cult members literally approached me in public, if you recall, when I was at the DNC, and he actually celebrated that in his community. So in the past, he has legitimately celebrated people coming up to me and harassing me in the real world. So now he's amplifying that to his own audience, to his own community.
That's crazy. Ugh. I knew Destiny was going off the rails, but going off the rails, I think I was noticing that he's been a crazy person, and ever since the sex pestiny stuff came out, then we have, I think he's just kind of accepted that a certain group of people and a certain, those of us with morals being that certain group of people are no longer going to find him legitimate. So now he has to cater to all the people who are left after he gets outed for that kind of stuff, which is not the best group of people, it turns out.
And not only is he's just increasing the intensity.
Sorry, I don't know how many times we need to beat home the point that if the people who are supporting the sex pest and the PDF files are not good people. They're not. And if Destiny now knows those are the type of people that he has to cater to maintain employment, then that's what he's going to do. And that's why you find him going on Sam Harris's podcast so they can both jerk each other off about how evil Hamas is and how Israel is totally justified in committing a genocide and killing every Palestinian.
And saying that it's justifiable to attack and kill me in real life. I think this goes maybe a step beyond drama at that point. Like, you get to stay on Twitch-a-thon, you got laughed out of the DNC. That's crazy that you're watching your...
And if that were true, getting laughed out of the DNC is not a Twitch bannable offense. Calling for direct violence against Hassan should be a bannable offense.
Your favorite content creator issue a death threat to me, and you're in here at his behest, and you're talking about I got laughed out of the DNC.
Right, those things are not connected at all.
This seems like something that is actionable. What will it take? Yeah, this was the average
let's see what he's talking
Destiny
about.
fan interaction. So this weirdo really went there just for Hassan. I'm shaking. And this was what we found out. And we found out that he was a racist too. I found him. Shouted on his stream. I'm going to tell Hassan, Destiny made you. Y'all need someone to find Hassan's location at the DNC. I'm here. What's this about? Y'all, I'm at the DNC. I'm going to find Hassan. What should I say?
Wow.
I want to troll, lol. It's Hassan. He's right there. I'm shaking.
Shaking with arousal. This man stalked Hassan, stared at him from a distance, recorded him. He's horny for him. Let's be real. Can you blame him? Look at that guy.
Loser. Ask the lady at the counter, what is the best thing?
This was in that same community.
Okay, bye.
Destiny's community. Where he
what on earth? I'm sure he was like, oh, I told him. I got him.
Calling for my death. At what point do we stop? At what point do people in his orbit say, hey man, I think you've gone too far? There were certain things that I think people would do back in the day that like all content creators would just like stay
way too far.
One of those things was it's a long time ago now, but like if you went after someone's sponsors, no matter how gross someone was, no matter how gross a content creator was or how evil they were, many other content creators in the periphery would immediately pounce on that person. Then the next line that was crossed
going after
was
sponsors. Huh. I didn't know that.
Doxing content creators. Now,
yeah, no one cares about that anymore. That's just it's just par for the course, it seems.
Now, the next line that is crossed is, I guess, issuing direct death threats to content creators. You don't mess with sponsors, Lamont. No, I'm not saying I give a shit about that. I'm saying that was like the attitude amongst like YouTube content creators.
I don't know. God, people's listening comprehension is wildly low. Okay, that about covers what I want to do on here. I don't want to turn this into a whole Hassan reaction stream, although that would probably get better views anyway. But we're going to jump over to Fox News at this point. I think I have it in me. Oh man, this is a long one. A 30-minute highlight catch-up. Okay, we're going to put this on double speed. There's no chance we're going to get through this shit, right? Oh, hello.
Peacemaker. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
I hate her.
Now, no one but Donald Trump could have done this. Working around the clock, working the phones. He got all the key players together. It wasn't just the Ukrainian officials. It was everybody.
I think what's really funny, I pulled a picture up before, or someone sent me a picture of this area right behind them here, this fireplace, before and after Donald Trump moves in. And prior to this, there's none of that gaudy, tacky, fake gold is anywhere. And someone else pointed out that they recognize all of those pieces, and they are very clearly just painted gold. So this is like $40 worth of home decor from Goodwill or from like an at-home type shop that he just painted gold and then put up on the walls because he's a child. He's like,
all of them were pointed in the same general direction.
He's like what a homeless guy thinks a rich guy would be like.
As I said before, broke the deadlock, basically, with President Putin by starting that dialogue. I think if we play this well, we could end this.
The path is open. You opened it last Friday. Now the way is open for complicated negotiations.
We are here to work together with you on a just and lasting peace.
I'm sure that we'll be able to find a solution, and get a lasting and just peace.
I think that we had very good conversation with President Trump, and we spoke about very sensitive points. The first one is security guarantees, and we are very happy with President that all the leaders are here.
What the world saw today is the Trump effect. Zelensky and the Western world gathered for hours in Washington because Donald Trump summoned them, not to rally for war, but to huddle for peace. Now, just days.
That's not true. Donald Trump did not summon them. They all decided to go there to back up Zelensky because of how he was treated last time he was there. Let's see if I can verify that real quick before we keep going. What would I Google for that? Probably, why did EU leaders join Zelensky Let's just do that. I still need this opened up. August 18th, Trump plans, key takeaways. Sorry, I can pull this over here now. Key takeaways, major takeaways, European leaders. Who are the European leaders supporting Zelensky? Here's New York Times. Okay. Let's see if that's linked, though. The leaders of some of Europe's most powerful nations flew to Washington, D.C. on short notice to join President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine in Washington. The meeting was organized quickly. The European leaders sought to present a united front of support for Ukraine in its war against Russia after Mr. Trump aligned with Moscow's demand that Kiev cede territory as part of a peace agreement. So that's not cited, so I don't know that that's true, but it is in line with what I thought was going on here. So I don't know if we're going to get much better than that. Try this. I don't know what One News is, but leaders continue. Oh, sorry. My dog's upset. I'm going to let her out. Okay, Jeff. Oh, old lady dog. She just turned 13 last year. She's getting up there. All right. By arriving as a group, they hope to avoid any debacles like Zelensky's February meeting in the Oval Office, where Trump chastised him for not showing enough gratitude. Again, it's not linked. It's not cited. A couple different places are reporting it, and it is in line with what I think, but that does not make it true. So take that with a grain of salt, but it does seem pretty in line with what we know about how someone would view Trump's opinions on the matter at this point. He's clearly more in line with Putin and more friendly towards Putin than he is to Zelensky.
Days after Vladimir Putin traveled to the United States to meet Trump, his first trip in 10 years to the U.S., the president of Ukraine, NATO Secretary General, the German Chancellor, and other European heads of state met to talk about finding a pathway to end this horrid bloodshed. Now, we don't even know how many people, remember, have died in this war in Ukraine.
Talking like he's organizing some sort of peace summit is definitely helpful for his ideas about getting a Nobel Peace Prize as well.
But the number could be as high as 1 million Russians and Ukrainians lost, their lives gone. Surveys are showing that the people want peace. The fight to the finish attitude of Ukrainians has given way to reality. They want this war to end. And American support for the war has been declining, with the majority of Americans now saying it is not our responsibility to help Ukraine defend itself.
It may, even if you believe it's not our responsibility to help Ukraine defend itself, you have to believe that it is our responsibility to communicate on a world stage that you cannot just invade your neighboring countries and take their land. That is important. Regardless of what you think about Ukraine or anyone there, you cannot just make up a motivation to start a war, invade a country, and claim its land as your own. That is what this is about. Regardless of what I think of American interests in general, I do think it serves American interests to continue supporting Ukraine.
The war's not going to be ended on the battlefield. It's obvious that Russia will not stop grinding through its troops. And it's equally as obvious that as long as China and India will keep buying Russian oil and their ag, Putin will have the money to feed his war machine. I'm not sure the Trump administration can try to use its leverage to stop these funding streams, but where China is concerned, it's unlikely we're going to be able to do much. They want Russian oil, and they're going to get Russian oil. If Russia could have been isolated and broken economically, it would have already happened.
I do like the admission that we can't do anything, that Trump can't do anything about it to China. I don't think she knew that that's what she was saying, but it is.
Whether you love Trump or you hate Trump, he's choosing to deal with the world as it is, not as any of us wish it would be. It's not the 1990s anymore. That world is never coming back. If the voters wanted to perpetuate the world of open borders and perpetual war, Trump wouldn't have trounced last November. Of course, though, none of this means that Donald Trump doesn't see the many
No one was running on open borders.
pitfalls that still lie ahead. Because if Ukraine is going to agree to any kind of land swap with Russia, it's asking for a real security agreement.
I think that we had a very good conversation with President Trump. Very good. And it really was the best one, or sorry, maybe the best one will be in the future. But it was really good. And we spoke about very sensitive points. The first one is security guarantees, and we are very happy with President.
Now, this is Europe's backyard, and Trump doesn't want Americans, though, to shoulder the lion's share of the burden.
I think that the European nations are going to take a lot of the burden. We're going to help them, and we're going to make it very secure.
Of course, that's not good enough for the pro-war crowd. For them, anything short of American boots on the ground is just surrendering to Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, I mean, the pro-war crowd, they think that calling for resistance against Russia is pro-war. I mean, giving Russia everything it wants to end this conflict is pro-war. It is rewarding Russia for starting a war.
For the perpetual war crowd, Trump's search for peace is not noble. It's suspicious.
He wants a Nobel Peace Prize, and he wants it now. So he's willing to say a lot of things. He didn't really commit to anything. I think what Trump wants is a Nobel Prize, whichever way he can get it, being a mediator, being an advocate, doing whatever. That's what he wants.
And of course, they dusted off their old Russia collusion talking points.
I was struck by, obviously President Putin was not at the table, but President Trump was effectively voting his proxy. He said President Putin wants to find an answer too. I still don't think we know exactly where
They're still calling it a hoax. We have just actual evidence of it at this point.
President Trump is on this.
This is just lazy, lightweight analysis. Now, if they read any Russian history, it doesn't sound like they have, they should know that these are proud, patriotic people, and they've weathered enormous hardship over the past century. So gratuitously disrespecting Russia would probably be among the dumbest things Donald Trump could do, or any negotiator should do.
You don't need to disrespect them, but you can't just roll over for them. You can't just let Putin scratch your belly while he tells you everything that you need to give him.
Obama didn't disrespect Putin when they met, and we know that George W. got downright cozy with Vladimir Putin. So
yeah, that's its own thing.
How is it in America's interest to continue to make Russia a pariah and just drive them into the arms of China? By the way, did anyone notice what just happened in May when President Xi of China visited the Kremlin? Big May Day parade? This is the last development any of us should want to see. And finally, we have to ask this tonight. WWJHD, what would Joe do? Well, as in Biden, of course, he could never have gotten this done. He spent 3 years cheerleading and funding the war with zero.
Joe Biden is not the other option, but it's still not like if we didn't have Trump here, we would have Biden here. Like, that's the comparison she's making, and that's made up. Like, if we didn't have Trump here, we would have Kamala Harris here. And do I think she'd be doing better? I don't know. She's definitely, I think she would be a lot more combative with Putin. I don't think she would just let him say that he deserves to keep Crimea, which he annexed illegally, and he deserves to take all of this land that he has already occupied illegally. And he should also get some land that he hasn't been able to occupy illegally.
Attempts at bold diplomacy. Trump said repeatedly, though,
I can stop saying illegally. I know it doesn't matter.
Today, that it is ultimately up to Ukraine and to Russia to strike this deal. But he's also offering a serious framework, something no one else, including Biden, managed to do.
We also need to discuss the possible exchanges of territory, taking into consideration the current line of contact. That means the
Biden lives rent-free in her mouth.
War zone, the war lines that are.
And as I said earlier, he worked the phones during this marathon meeting today, calling Putin in the middle of his talks with the Europeans and Zelensky. The man just simply doesn't stop.
We'll see. And
could he?
In a certain period of time, not very far from now, a week or 2 weeks, we're going to know whether or not we're going to solve this, or is this horrible fighting going to continue. We'll do our best to get it ended. And I believe you have two willing parties, and usually that's good news, but two willing parties are going to make a deal. And we'll journey together, and we'll go over, and we'll see if it can be done.
Pragmatism. That's what we need. Now, that's what a peace.
What's he about to say?
And every patriotic American with a heart should be hoping tonight that President Trump succeeds. And that's the angle.
It's just more entertaining, at least when they don't have a leg to stand on, when they know they're losing.
No tie, but he was fiffier. The press agrees.
President Zelensky, you look fabulous in this.
This is the guy who commented last time. He was wearing a general's uniform because he's at war.
I said the same. Yeah, look good. I said the same thing. Yeah, I said the one that attacked you last time.
I remember that.
No, first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit.
Why should we care what another man wears? Well, it's not about the fit, it's about the respect. And Zelensky, he stepped it up. After the blow-up, he was on his best behavior. He even remembered to say his pleases and thank yous.
His best behavior? Good God, they just want to infantilize this guy. I want a Jesse Waters versus anyone cage match.
Very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killing.
Zelensky would be ideal.
Using this opportunity to make thanks to your life because they of the United States.
Z saw Vance in the room and wasn't ready for another tongue lashing. Instead of finger wagging, they were laughing.
So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, it's good. I wonder what the
You like this idea?
We told you after the first meeting, deals blow up all the time. And guys blow up at each other. We hug it out and shake it off. We don't hold grudges like women. Could you imagine Kamala pulling off this kind of...
There it is. We don't hold grudges like women, by the way, who aren't suited for office.
diplomacy? Zelensky's actually ready to take the relationship to the...
And these people still say that sexism had nothing to do with why they didn't vote for Kamala. I think there are a ton of reasons that Kamala Harris lost the election, but sexism is for sure one of them. And this kind of crap is the reason that's around.
Instead of finger wagging, they were laughing.
to be in a war with somebody. No more elections. Oh, it's good. I wonder what the
You like this idea?
We told you after the first meeting, deals blow up all the time. And guys blow up at each other. We hug it out and shake it off. We don't hold grudges like women. Could you imagine Kamala pulling off this kind of diplomacy? Zelensky's actually ready to take the relationship to the next level. He wants a three-way.
I can totally picture Kamala making this kind of progress and this kind of diplomacy. In fact, I think she probably would have pulled it off in February.
To keep sending Ukrainian troops to their deaths for another couple of years, or are you going to agree to redraw the maps?
We need to stop this war to stop Russia, and we supported the idea of the United States, of President Trump, to stop this war to make.
Again, are you going to keep sacrificing Ukrainian lives, or are you just going to give Putin what he wants? These people are so pro-Putin, it's crazy.
Way of finishing this war, and
how is being pro-Russia the current American position?
Yeah, we're ready for trilateral, as President said.
Trump called Vlad and asked if he was in. I guess we're about to find out. The Europeans felt left out. And now they're asking if they can get in on the action. Ursula brought France, Germany, Italy, Finland, and England.
Wait, I thought Donald Trump invited them. That's what your co-host said.
All across the pond to say, thank you, Daddy.
I think it is an important day, a new phase, after 3 years and a half that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that there was a willing for dialogue. So something is changing, something has changed, thanks to you.
I really want to thank you, President of the United States, dear Donald, for the fact that you, as I said before, broke the deadlock, basically with President Putin by starting the dialogue.
I think in the past 2 weeks, we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we have in the past 3.5 years.
With all the world leaders at the White House, Secret Service agents.
They're just sucking up to him so he doesn't cry and leave the table.
We're overheard saying it's the busiest it's been in 7 years. John Roberts says he's covered the White House for more than a decade and has never witnessed a meeting like this. Trump was even showing them his big fight portrait. But CBS says Europe
of
is just
course,
there to make
he's
sure the
just
former
showing off all his
There's
stuff.
concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied.
This is when I faked getting shot.
Coming his back up tomorrow.
No, it isn't. That's not why they're coming back. That's not true. This is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff. They're coming here tomorrow because they chose to come here tomorrow. We invited them to come. We invited them to come. The president invited them to come.
Do you hear
But I thought that's...
yourself, Margaret? Zelensky wasn't bullied. He says the meeting couldn't have gone any better.
I think that we had very good conversation with President Trump. Very good. And it really was the best one, maybe the best one will be in the future. But it was really good.
Then Trump gave him a gift, a big, beautiful map of Ukraine, and told him to just jam it in his suitcase.
Thank you for the map, by the way. It was great. Yeah. I'm thinking how to take it back.
Trump wants to see this end in a peace deal. He's not trying to bully anybody. If anything, Putin's been bullying the last 2 American presidents.
He's bullying this one too, except it's not quite the same because this particular victim of his bullying is sucking him off every time he lands on American soil. Which he should be arrested the moment he lands on American soil, by the way.
Crimea under Obama's watch and Eastern Ukraine under Joe's, when he said don't. Trump's main goal is to secure a peace that lasts, not a short-term ceasefire that Russia can just use to rebuild, restock, and go back in.
We're going to work with Ukraine. We're going to work with everybody, and we're going to make sure that if this peace, the peace is going to stay long-term. This is very long-term. We're not talking about a 2-year peace.
It's a peace deal.
It is not going to be long-term. I promise you, if you let Putin keep land he's taken, keep Crimea, and then get this war ended, he's just gonna sit around, wait for things to calm down, wait for you to forget, wait for another president to get into office, and then he's gonna invade again, and he's gonna see if he can get more.
Or no deal. Vlad knows this is his last shot. He got jelly legs when Trump laid it out. Look at him wobble around.
Maybe Putin was lightheaded after Trump called an audible and scrapped lunch. Medium rare fillets and champagne vinaigrette glazed salad sat there for hours uneaten. What a shame. Or maybe he got the shakes when the B-2 bombers buzzed him. Trump said the meeting in Alaska was a 10, but the media is upset about the carpet.
I mean, it crushed some norms having him walk across.
Trump said the meeting was a 10. I assume that means Putin let him finish this time too.
Red carpet while Trump clapped. I mean, that generally Putin doesn't
Are we really going to go through this kind of bullshit? Like Obama wore a tan suit and he saluted with coffee in his hand. Who gives a shit what he walked across?
Gavin Newsom kicked the homeless out of.
Bill Maher is he's going to wind up on Fox News. That is his trajectory. As soon as he realized that somebody might eventually hold him accountable for the things he does and says, he just immediately went the way of a right-wing grifter. He is attempting to maintain the fake left who are closer to centrists, but probably under right at this point. He's just trying to keep them just barely on the hook enough that he can get away with moving over to being a full right-wing grifter.
San Francisco and threw Xi Jinping a parade. FDR had caviar, champagne, and cigars with Stalin. Even CNN gets it.
Oh my God, they rolled out a red carpet as if he should have kneed him in the groin the minute that he stepped off the plane. He's trying to cut a deal.
Trump was in total control. He wouldn't let Putin pick the place. Russia wanted to be in the Middle East, but Trump told him, get on the plane to Alaska or no FaceTime. CNN booked a body language expert to debunk the Russia hoax. Watch.
The body language to me put the lie to the notion that we've had for 10 years that Trump is Putin's stooge.
We have a full federal investigation, a ton of indictments, just everybody around this man getting indicted for being colluding with Russia. And the final nail in the coffin that proves it was fake is this body language expert that's not even real science. It's absolutely not accepted. It wouldn't be accepted in a court of law, I hope, and maybe now it would. Let's see. Is body language analysis. Sure, accurate. Neither entirely accurate nor completely unreliable. Is it admissible? Generally not admissible in court as conclusive evidence of guilt or truthfulness.
It looks like he's catty. I mean, he really did. He's half his height when he's sort of smiling uncomfortably. I think we can later grasp the idea that Trump is some Russian agent. I actually wish that he'd been a little kinder to him. I thought he was intimidating.
You think Kamala could have gotten Vlad to fly over to our home turf and
kidding me?
So
Yes.
badly that his legs looked like he drank a fifth of vodka? This meeting never would have been possible if Donald Trump hadn't slapped second.
And the idea that Putin is scared of Trump in any way is absolutely insane.
Secondary sanctions on Russian energy exports. And if Trump hadn't forced the Saudis to keep oil prices low, he got NATO to beef up defense spending, and the EU trade deal has us selling the continent American energy. No more Nord Stream. It's time for peace. Ukraine was once gung-ho, naturally, and now they want a truce.
The idea that they do want to negotiate and end to this war as soon as possible, that has now gone through the roof. Again, we're talking about 69%, which is such a big difference from where we were at the beginning of the war when it was just 22.
Everybody wants this war to end. The only ones who don't are Democrats. They're pro-war just because they're anti-Trump. They told us Trump was going to start World War III, but he's brokered so many peace deals that he's getting nominated for the Nobel. Even Crooked says give it to him.
Honestly, if he could bring about the end to this terrible war, if he could end it without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory to the aggressor.
That's the part. He's not going to do that. He's not going to accomplish that. He is going to insist that Ukraine gives up territory to the aggressor.
If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
A lot of Democrats are starting to realize Trump was right about everything. The border, trans, crime, and now Ukraine. Trump's the peace candidate the Democrats used to be.
One thing about him that I know, I'm not going to tell you how I know, but a lot of people have seen the same thing. He really does hate war. He really does not like it when people die in war.
The man just...
He doesn't care. Shut the hell up, Bill Maher. Look, I know I just said it, and I don't need to pat myself on the back, but good God, Bill. He's just a right-wing grifter.
Hates death because he's such an optimist, and he sees the full potential in everything and everybody. It sickens him to watch nations throw funerals instead of weddings, and waste money on weapons instead of big, beautiful ballrooms. And as a real estate developer, it's a sin to watch beautiful land massacred by missiles.
In Ukraine is now a real possibility. There's a lot of ground to cover. I don't want to be overly optimistic. We don't like to overpromise and underdeliver, but all of it thanks to President Trump. Unlike every other world leader, he was able to pull this off. Unlike every
all you do is overpromise and underdeliver.
Other world leader, he's willing to expend political capital. Now, pause for a moment and think about how historic this really is. On Friday, we were in Alaska. That's less than 3 days ago. President Trump was in Alaska meeting with Vladimir Putin. Putin hadn't been on U.S. soil in 10 years. And just 48 hours later, the commander-in-chief did something that no other president would even dream of or even be...
Rolled out a red carpet for him. Yeah, I mean, that's something that other presidents would dream of. Okay, I'm wrong.
Willing to take a risk on. Take a look at your screen. He got all major NATO leaders to drop everything they were doing, take a weekend transatlantic flight to Washington, D.C.
Again, that's not what happened.
For this huge meeting at the White House with the Ukrainian President Zelensky. Now, these world leaders are now all praising Trump's commitment to peace. Take a look.
They did this to defend Zelensky from Trump.
I really want to thank you, President of the United States, dear Donald, for the fact that you, as I said before, broke the deadlock, basically with President Putin by starting the dialogue. And I think it was in February that you had the first phone call. And from there, we are now where we are today. And that is, I think if we play this well, we could end this.
I think it is an important day, a new phase, after 3 years and a half that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that there was a willing for dialogue. So something is changing, something has changed, thanks to you.
They just know they have to stroke him to get anywhere, and maybe they do actually support him. I'm not in their brains. I still disagree with them, even if they do support him. I still think they're wrong. Them being world leaders doesn't make their opinion any more valuable to me. If anything, it might degrade it a little bit.
I think in the past 2 weeks, we probably had more progress in ending this war than we have in the past 3.5 years. And I think the fact that we're around this table today is very much symbolic in the sense that it's Team Europe and Team United States helping Ukraine.
Now, remember, it was only Friday that Trump haters and the state-run legacy media mob, the Democratic Party, they were telling you, every American, that Trump's peace negotiations with Putin were an embarrassment, a failure. He got schooled. Now, Senator Chris Murphy calling the meeting a disaster.
That is all true. He just said, yes, Putin, you can have everything you want. We don't know of a single thing he denied him.
For the war in Ukraine, an embarrassment for our country. Few thought that Donald Trump could pull it off. Here it is Monday, and look at all the people. They're all at the White House. And why were all of Europe's leaders at the White House praising President Trump in less than 3 short days? He's moving at the speed of Trump. Now, the left in this country has been rooting for Trump to fail on every front, and for this horrible war to what, continue? More dying, more death. As President Trump pointed out, he could negotiate a total unconditional surrender from Vladimir.
No, we have to tell Vladimir Putin that he can't do this.
Putin, and we could get Moscow and St. Petersburg and more, and the left would still be unhappy. Take a look.
I said that if in the settlement you got Moscow, St. Petersburg, and thousands of miles around them, they would say I made a bad deal.
Right, but you're not going to get any of that. What are you talking about? They would, if I grew wings and ascended to heaven, they still wouldn't admit I'm an angel. That's not real.
The level of hatred and animosity is incredible. Not with all. I mean, we have great people up here. We also have terrible people up there that I think are told what to say. But, in solving all of these wars, they don't even write about it.
Now, let's temper expectations here. Make no mistake, there's still no guarantee that a peace deal is imminent or will even happen. But what we can report tonight is there are major territorial decisions to be made, including the Donetsk region. But everyone is on agreement on one key issue. They're all, they all want the killing to stop. By the way, don't you? Don't you think it's time? How many more Russian soldiers need to die? How many more innocent men, women, and children in Ukraine?
That's his point. He wants to make it exhausting so that he can just have everything he wants.
Have to die. Take a look.
We've had a very successful day thus far. Important discussions as we work.
That's what I was saying earlier about Russia's always military strategy of throw people into the meat grinder until the other team is no longer willing to, and then you will win.
To end the killing and stop the war in Ukraine, we're all working for the same goal. Very simple goal. We want to stop the killing, get this settled.
Now, for all you Trump derangement syndrome people out there, there's only one person in the free world that could get this done and get this close to a possibility of a lasting peace, and that's President Trump. He did force Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. He used 4 very key measures, as I see it, to get that accomplished.
Forced him to the negotiating table?
He started selling the sophisticated U.S. weapons to NATO and Ukraine. In other words, okay, Vladimir, you don't want to play ball fast enough? Let me get your attention this way. Number 2, he signed that economic agreement, the trade agreement with the European Union that included nearly $1 trillion in guaranteed purchases of American energy. In other words, that's $1 trillion worth of oil and gas that will not be coming into Europe from Russia funding Putin's war.
Wasn't it on the same exact show that they're saying we shouldn't be sending that kind of support to them? I was not aware that we had sent high-grade military equipment. I thought we were still unloading our old crap on them. If that's true, that's actually an improvement. I do see that as something positive. But I still don't think he did it for good reasons. I still don't think he did it because he wants to, because he cares about Ukraine or maintaining their country.
War machine. Number 3, President Trump got NATO members to more than double their military commitment to 5% of their GDP. And number 4, he hit Putin where it hurts, implementing a massive tariff on India, 50% if they buy Russian oil. With those 4 steps and the threat of more tariffs to other countries that do business with Russia, those are the severe consequences President Trump was talking about. The president is working very fast to clean up what has been a disaster in Ukraine, of course, created by Western Europe themselves and by Joe Biden in particular. Joe Biden never even picked up a phone.
He lives rent-free in all of their mouths.
When Vladimir Putin was amassing military equipment and troops at Ukraine's border, and it was going on for month after month, many European countries continued to spend lavishly on Russian oil and gas, making Putin rich. In other words, funding his war machine, all while nixing their own power plants in the name of climate change, despite Trump's dire warning. Remember the white flag of surrender that he gave then German Chancellor Merkel? Europe even tried to lecture President Trump, just before the meeting with Putin, about how we should negotiate. Their arrogance appalling. None of them could accomplish what Donald Trump has accomplished to this point. At least we're talking. At least there's an opportunity. But now, because of President Trump, the sheer economic and military might of our country, the U.S., there is hopefully the chance of peace. And above all, the president has a commitment to peace, frankly, unlike anything we have seen. And the American people appreciate that. In fact, Trump's approval rating, look at this. Insider advantage. By the way, one of the few pollsters that gets Donald Trump and is able to poll Donald Trump correctly, showing Donald Trump's approval rating surging. This took place after the Alaska summit. This is in peace at all costs. At the end of the day, if Vladimir Putin doesn't want to deal, Alaska summit with voters 60.
Insider advantage, August 15th through 17th. MOE plus or minus 3.9%. Yeah, that's probably an accurate poll.
But this isn't peace at all costs.
That's
At the end of the day, if Vladimir Putin doesn't want a deal, President Trump
the
is
fact is he won the popular vote, so it's not surprising that he's doing the things he said he was going to do, and people like it.
Great to see
It's
you. I hope you didn't mind
gross,
the cavity
but
search.
it's not surprising.
Happy Monday, everybody. So later this year, MSNBC will become MS Now. They say the new acronym means my source for news, opinion, and the world. But others believe it stands for miserable no one watches. James Comey admitted he gets inspiration from Taylor Swift to help deal with Trump. It makes sense that Comey's a fan since he's 6'8" and Taylor's a 6 who thinks he's an 8.
I mean, and once again, he's just constantly commenting on people's appearances. I have to save that one, 2520. But, you know, where do I need to type that out somewhere? 2520. She's hot, man. You can think whatever you want about her.
Her 67th birthday at a horse race in Italy. Fans were shocked when they mistakenly thought they were getting their picture taken with Seabiscuit.
Wow.
Scientists in China are working on a robot that can carry a human fetus. Experts predict that soon you won't need a woman at all once robots can remember an argument you had 4 years ago. So true.
This is an alarming amount of misogynist sentiment on this particular highlight reel. It's not like Fox News is, you know, a beacon of progressivism most of the time, but it seems like if I'm noticing it and I watch all of these, then it's got to be a bit more
threatening to sue Hunter Biden for $1
unusual.
billion over defamatory remarks. Hunter replied, "F that," but we aren't sure if he was talking about the lawsuit or the homemade sex toy he made out of a cantaloupe.
Oh, I can't unsee that.
Yes. And Ohio Chick-fil-A announced that minors must bring an adult.
I just don't know how that's related to anything. I don't know. It's not a funny joke to me because it's not like subverting anything, and it's not like, oh, we know that Hunter Biden. I don't know. Like JD Vance couch, and we're pretty sure that happened. So it would have been funny if he said something about JD Vance making a, you know, makeshift toy to. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know something about Hunter Biden.
And some men are actually renting themselves out as
Hunter
chaperones.
Biden.
Harris Walwell was so frustrated at food prices at a grocery store that he threw his hat on the ground. And to no one's surprise, a Chinese spy camera came rolling out of it. And finally, because he's pro-prostitution, if Zoran Mamdani becomes mayor, many worry that NYC will become a hotspot for sex workers. Well, when do I join the campaign? Asked one man.
What? Sorry. I ignored that now.
Wow. Harris Walwell was so frustrated at food prices at a grocery store that he threw his hat on the ground. And to no one's surprise, a Chinese spy camera came rolling out of it. And finally, because he's pro-prostitution, if Zoran Mamdani becomes mayor, many worry that NYC will become a hotspot for sex workers. Well, when do I join the campaign? Asked one man. Because it's...
I mean, Gutfeld is pro-sex work. Not a chance this man doesn't go home and watch porn and jail. And it's just lying and hypocritical that they are not pro-sex work.
Monday, I think it's time for a fun thought experiment. Roll it, Sven.
Democrat Fantasy 2025. Get ready!
Wow. So, by an incredible stroke of luck, a bunch of meteors hit only red states, and the Dems have been put back in charge. So now that they've regained control, what do they do first? Besides putting the Maryland dad on Mount Rushmore. Obviously, they must undo all the damage Trump made to the country, to the world. So let's ask them, what do you do first? Reopen the border and invite the millions of illegals deported back into our country, including the violent ones, rapists, and the murderers? Or would you first repair
Well, let's start with getting the American citizens we deported back.
our relationship with Iran? Is there a way to unobliterate their nuclear facilities? It's gone now, but maybe you can bring it back to life, like Biden's aides did with Joe every morning. Should you kill the deals that Trump made that brought peace between Cambodia and Thailand, Rwanda and the Republic of Congo, Armenia and Azerbaijan, India and Ethiopia, Joe and Mika? Or how about between the DC government and its citizens? It's gotten so quiet on the streets, you can hear Rashida Tlaib's mustache growing.
Because they're terrified.
Raise gas prices too. Should you undo the deregulation that saved thousands of dollars per family per year? But given the mess Trump has caused, it's easily overlooked. Plus, you're terrible with numbers. Hell, even your teachers can't count past 69.
I can't unsee
Thanks,
that.
Joe.
What a miss.
Should we tell NATO not to boost their defense spending to 5%?
I love when he pauses for laughter and doesn't get it. It's so good.
All the experts thought impossible, but now they're doing. God forbid they start funding the Ukraine war, not us. I mean, what are they spending all their money on anyway? Certainly not swimsuit fabric. What about reversing blue-collar wage growth after its first increase in 60 years? Or cancel the $7+ trillion that governments and companies have pledged to invest here? Or take the $90 billion in tariff duties so far and give it back? The stock market's reached record highs. We can't have that. That only benefits fat cats who own 3 homes. We should cancel that minerals deal with Ukraine and the trade deals with the UK, China, and Indonesia. Then there's Trump's attack on trans. But that's an easy fix. Just reverse Trump's EO, which forced schools to ban men in women's sports. I mean, it's been almost a whole week since a young girl had her athletic dreams crushed by a guy in pigtails and size 14 cleats.
They are so obsessed with the 40 trans athletes in the world. It is crazy.
And we need to reverse hospitals who halted so-called gender-affirming care for kids and get back to doing what they do best, ruining a child's mental health and sexual function for life. We should get rid of the Halt Fentanyl Act, because, you know, before that, I used to build muscle hopping over overdosed addicts.
I want to spend most of the rest of the time talking about Jimmy Lai, who is
Under heavy security, media mogul Jimmy Lai was back in a Hong Kong court.
Who is under heavy security. No, he is a he was a prominent pro-democracy figure in Japan who was arrested in, I believe, 2020, pretty immediately after, prominent pro-democracy figure arrested in 2020 under national security law. He's accused of colluding with foreign forces and conspiring to publish seditious content using his newspaper to encourage protests. He really rose to prominence in the 2018-2019 protests in Japan. Those protests, there was kind of a lot going on there, but the main issues were demanding changes to anti-rape laws and improvements to women's rights in Japan in general. It was support for Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement, and let's see, this last one says concern about immigration detention conditions. So a lot of the same stuff that we are protesting for here now, largely being pro-democracy, trying to maintain our democracy to the best of our ability, and immigrant detention conditions, obviously a problem here as well. So this is resonating a little bit.
And concerns about Lai's health. Dozens of his supporters lined up to see him in court, including William Wong.
He is worse than before, in my memory, because he's 77 years old already, and his condition in the prison is worse and worse.
An outspoken critic of China's leaders, Jimmy Lai is the most prominent pro-democracy figure arrested in 2020 under the national security law imposed by Beijing in the wake of anti-government protests the year before.
Right, and then I think it was pretty much immediately after this, there was a global pandemic, national security laws kind of clamped down over there, and people were obviously a lot less free all of a sudden just because the condition of the world and the global pandemic. So I think if that hadn't happened, a lot of these things probably would have escalated further as well.
Authorities say the law was necessary to restore stability. Lai stands accused of colluding with foreign forces and conspiring to publish seditious content in his role as the founder of the Apple Daily newspaper.
So essentially, they were just scared of his journalism,
which was forced to shut down in 2021. He's been detained since December 2020. In court, Jimmy Lai wore a white jacket and black-rimmed glasses, and he did look visibly thinner. However, he appeared in good spirits, nodding and smiling at his family members and supporters in the room. The prosecutor told the court that he has had a heart monitor put on, and he's been prescribed medication. Prosecutors.
So his health's declining, and that's what kicked the hearing down the road, I guess. I think that's what they said earlier.
Have accused Lai of advocating for international sanctions against Hong Kong and China after Beijing imposed the national security law, which Lai denies.
I mean, he can deny it, and he probably should deny it, but doesn't make it wrong.
In his closing arguments, prosecutor Anthony Chow pointed to Lai's international connections, which included prominent US political figures, which he said were long-term and persistent. Prosecutors also accused Lai of using his newspaper to encourage people to protest against the government. Many around the world are watching.
The fact that that's illegal and something that they think they can use to justify his imprisonment is worth protesting in and of itself, I think.
This high-profile trial, which some see as a test for the city's rule of law and judicial independence.
Jimmy Lai's trial is a showcase of whether Hong Kong still has fair trial and due process. And in the past 5 years, we have witnessed it. That in Jimmy Lai's case, he has suffered from a long-term pre-trial detention and is de facto arbitrary detention.
The Hong Kong government maintains its judicial system is independent and has repeatedly condemned what it calls foreign interference in its internal affairs.
And remember that Japan considers Sorry, I just got a text on my screen. Japan considers talking about Japan from outside of Japan foreign interference. This is the country that set itself back hundreds of years by refusing imports from the rest of the world for a long time. The idea that other countries are interfering in their affairs simply by reporting on them and talking about them is obviously not appropriate, but also pretty unsurprising given the nation's history and culture. That's not to take anything away from Japanese people in general. Obviously, I love a ton of Japanese culture. I'm a total anime nerd anyway. And I don't think that that takes away from the citizenry at all to admit that the government has had a harsh stance on outsiders for basically all of the country's history.
The closing arguments will be Jimmy Lai's final court appearances in this long-running trial before a verdict is handed down. Laura Westbrook, Al Jazeera, Hong Kong.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.
So that's what we had on him. Gosh, this is just obnoxious. I did have one other thing pulled up just to kind of tell you about the protests that kind of brought him into prominence. Let's see what we can do to get this like that. No, we don't need anything over there. Can you read that? Can it make me a little smaller? There you go. Oh, I just moved myself. I didn't even. Okay, there you go. I'll be smaller. We'll cover my icons. No, we'll cover down there in case no text comes in. Okay. The 2018-2019 Japanese protest was a series of peaceful demonstrations, anti-government protests nationwide between May 2018 and June 2019 against the government of Shinzo Abe. The protests would be the most massive and biggest countryside and countrywide uprisings in Japan. The first protests in Japan was against the government of Shinzo Abe and the economic grievances of poor areas in Japan. Thousands were taking part in the mass protests May through July 2018, and the anti-rape national protest movement in October 2018 to July 2019 after the rape of a girl in 2018. Hundreds were beaten or injured in the clashes in 2019, and is the most peaceful, however, in Japan since 1995. Okay, so that was difficult to read and not the best, but you get the point. That's basically what went down. We're going to do a little bit more on who was this guy.
Marched out of Apple.
Just because I would like to know, and then we're going to jump over to the protest section of the stream.
Daily's offices. It marked the end of an era for Hong Kong.
And I'm going to get ready for that over on the other side here.
The billionaire newspaper owner had been a key figure in the umbrella movement, the protests for freedom and democracy against China's increasingly authoritarian control of the territory. It made him a celebrity, even meeting key American leaders. But it also made him a target. And after the passage of Hong Kong's controversial national security law, he was one of hundreds of activists arrested and charged with collusion with foreign powers. Now languishing in jail as his trial continues, his friends and allies have not given up the hope that one day Jimmy...
This commenter down here has a point too. Disgraceful that British politicians are silent. It's disgraceful that I'm just hearing about this through... I think Al Jazeera is the only source that I've found. I will check and see if CNN has anything, or if Fox News or BBC or the AP or whatever have anything on it. But it's weird that this isn't a bigger deal given what just happened to the Al Jazeera journalists, the silencing of journalists in general. Seems like it should be on the forefront.
Jimmy Lai is China's best-known political prisoner now. And I think what Jimmy exemplifies is the freedom that was the promise of Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is a British colony, and that's been destroyed by China. And I think that's a warning to Taiwan and to the rest of the world.
Bring us up to date with where Jimmy Lai is right now. What is happening to him?
Jimmy Lai has just passed 1,500 days in prison. He's been in solitary confinement most of that time.
Oof, that is akin to torture, by the way. Oh, that's a long time in solitary. Even if by most of it he means 50%, that's still 500 days in solitary. It's
He's
crazy.
also on trial. It's the trial of his life. He's been sentenced on some minor charges, but now it's the big one, the national security law.
It looks a lot bigger in that photo than he has in the more recent ones, too.
Trial. He's almost certain to get a minimum of 10 years. He could get life. He's already 77 years old and in poor health, so a 10-year sentence really would be tantamount to a life in prison.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, if he's already deteriorating and at his age, and I don't know that 10 years in a place like a prison and not a place like where you can get good mental stimulation and reasonable exercise. I don't think he's going to last very long
for him, unless we can get a political deal to get him out.
And the charges that he faces then are some of the most serious you could possibly face.
Collusion with foreign powers. What does that mean? It means that he met Western officials. It means that he asked for sanctions against Hong Kong officials who violated human rights. It's also important to remember he's a British citizen. He's been a full British citizen since 1992. He's never had a Chinese passport. And yet the UK government hasn't even managed to meet him in a consular facility in the last couple of years.
Chloe, can you tell me your story? Like, how are you sitting here and not in?
I didn't realize that. I did a little bit of reading on him before this, but I had no idea that he was. He should have been extradited to Britain by now. That's
Hong Kong,
crazy.
presumably where you want to be.
In 2019, a pro-democracy movement broke out because the Hong Kong government was trying to push an extradition bill with China. I was 14 years old at that time. I was not interested in politics at all. As a Hong Konger who grew up in Hong Kong, who loved Hong Kong, it's time for us to step out on the street to go to protest against the bill. And at that time, which is my first time to be in the protest. Also, it's my first time to try tear gas, and I also witnessed a policeman who stepped on a protester's neck, which is like shocking for me when I was 14.
Yeah.
And in 2020, the national security law has passed. I think it's unsafe to stay in Hong Kong, and I discussed with my family. We all agreed to move to the UK since then.
There is a bounty on your head, right?
Yes, so there is about a 1 million Hong Kong dollar bounty on my head from the Hong Kong government under the national security law. So
they want you back and they want to throw you in jail alongside Jimmy Lai.
Yeah, so I think I did not commit a single crime. What I basically do is talk to journalists, talk to politicians, and they say that it's colluding with foreign forces, it's collusion. And if anyone give my information or kidnap me to the embassy or consulate, they could get 1 million Hong Kong dollar as a reward.
And now you live here in the UK. Do you feel safe here from the reaches of the Hong Kong and the Chinese authorities, or do you think they're watching you here too?
I don't think I am safe here in the UK.
They're watching for sure.
Okay. Basically, there are lots of examples of transnational repression. We saw there are Hong Kongers beaten up in Southampton during the protests, and we saw that the UK government is not willing to do a lot to protect us. 3 weeks after we got the bounty, Rachel Reeves visited China, and she secured a deal with China with a little amount of money, but she did not do anything to protect us.
Yeah, we hear from the British government, don't we? When they go to China, they bring up human rights issues, they bring up the case of Jimmy Lai. I wonder, though, if you think, Mark, that Rachel Reeves going to China, Trump reversing the ban on TikTok, for example, and the huge Chinese interest in that company, whether you're seeing a softening of stance towards China?
It comes and goes. We have seen President Trump promise that he would get Jimmy Lai out of jail. He promised that on the campaign trail.
Do you
I didn't realize that.
think you could speak to Xi when you're back in the presidency about getting Jimmy Lai out and out of the country?
100% yes. He's a very transactionally oriented president, so I mean, a lot will depend on larger Sino-U.S. relations.
Yeah.
But I have to say, turning closer to home, we've been disappointed that the Successive UK governments have failed to even meet Jimmy Lai in a consular or a...
And he's a citizen of their country. That's wild. Marketplace of ideas, my Scottish ass. Nice.
Political capacity. It has to be more than an afterthought. We'd love to see more pressure. We're delighted to see that Prime Minister Keir Starmer brought up the case of Jimmy Lai when he met Xi Jinping.
I'm just going to pick up where I left off on the 50 states and where I look for protest information for them. Again, this section where I could use the most help. So if you're watching and if you live in one of these states and you know better resources than me, please reach out. Please let me know. The email address attached to this particular account on all these socials is just austinrlnews@gmail.com. I'll put that in both my YouTube and my Twitch profiles so that it's easy to find. But if you want to help me out or provide some information on better places than just Reddit's to look for these protests, I am always looking to improve my sources a little bit on my own time, but obviously people on the ground who are, in these states will have a better time than I will. So the next thing I need to put up is, I believe we left off on Georgia, 5 streams a week, 50 states, 10 states a stream. I am going to, if we have time, jump back onto the previous 10 and just do the 5051 website and see what they have at the moment. And even better, you'll get to see how bad I am at geography in that segment. So for now, we left off with Georgia. We're just gonna pick up with Hawaii. This is just r/Hawaii on their Reddit. Protest organized by, they do talk about protests quite a bit, but organized by New, and we have 10 days ago, 21 days ago. Let's check these out. August 2nd, so this was just a few weeks ago now. It's the 19th today. This was also by 5051, so I imagine you could have found this on their website as well, which we will go to. ICE hiring, be a shame if anyone protested. Cool. Good. And that was 10 days ago, and the hiring is, I don't know, it doesn't say. Here we go. 6. These are all things that people, these are, in fact, all events that people could go protest. I don't know where the Hawaii one is. There it is. So August 16th, 17th, that would have been yesterday and the day before, or 2 days ago and the day before that. So already missed that one, but it does look like they're relatively up to date. Do keep in mind there was nothing posted about that one actually happening, so we're not sure if there would have been a better place to find that if it did happen. Idaho's up next, and same deal on this one. I had more luck on the regular Reddit than anything else, so we can jump on over to that. Protest by New, 13 days ago, 15 days ago, 21 days ago. This all looks pretty active, so this looks like a good spot. 5051, August is for action, nonstop protest schedule at Congress member's office. Sweet, follow this. Looks like this particular Reddit does get a good amount of attention. Congressional recess protest schedule, 4 days a week. That's huge. Protest held in Idaho, just reporting on one. Also great. Love it. Illinois. Again, just the regular subreddit. Protest. New. And 37 minutes ago. There you go. 3 days ago. 11 days ago. This one rocks too. For September 5th. Cool. That's actually ahead of the furthest out ones that I'm going to cover on here. I think the list I have only goes out to the Labor Day stuff. It's in every state, and we will touch on that before the end of this. But this is out further than that, so this is good. Peoria for Palestine. Awesome. Yeah, love it. Get out to this guy. No kings. Okay, just documentation of it. Cool. But these all include dates, things like that. It's good stuff. Let's hit up Indiana. The thumbnails that come out on some of these are great. Let me see if I can. Oh, I didn't get it. I can just pull this one over here, see if I can get it again. I was laughing at yeah, that's what popped up. Okay, Indiana. Jesus on a biscuit is that username. Today at the protest, 6 months ago, 26 minutes ago, 21 hours ago, 1 day ago, 2 days ago. This is great. Let's see. White power protest in downtown Indianapolis. Okay, so we need to get, say, what, 6 people? Yeah, whatever. Counter protest on that. Counterpoint, Indiana. Solidarity blackout, August 27th. Cool. Prepare. So unplug what you can live without for a day. That's neat. I haven't seen this, but I like it. Keep watching what's going on here and across the country. And it blows my mind that Indiana hasn't organized a real peaceful protest yet. Okay, so things have been done. Did I time travel? Same picture. Cool. All right, we are on to Iowa. Iowa protests. Protests in Jefferson, 18 days ago, 10 days ago, 11 days ago. Oh, weekly Iowa protests. Protests in Jefferson. Let's check that out. Discord. Let me introduce Midwest Underground, a Discord server for women and trans non-binary folks across the Midwest to connect. We spread awareness of important issues of today's political whole climate, signal boost protests, and generally just have a good time. That's awesome. If you are in the area and if you are a woman or trans or non-binary person who it would be welcome in that group and would not be, forcing yourself into a place made for other people. Don't look in the comments there. We're going to get gross. That's good stuff. And protest boosting. That's the big one. Demonstration Sunday, 10 a.m. Cool. I don't see when the... Oh, gotcha. It's weekly. So every Sunday at 10 a.m. That's huge. Good to know. That's just a picture of one. Kansas. I don't remember if this one was difficult or not. I feel like I should remember something specific about looking for this in Kansas, but I don't. So, 2 hours ago, 5 hours ago. Cool. Women and trans folk of Kansas is the same thing, so keep an eye on that. Not a protest. Resist MAGA as a proud Kansan. I refuse to sit by and watch our state slip. Are there any groups? All right, let's check this out. Loud Light is always fantastic. Same with the Kansas ACLU. Well, I'm just going to toss these things. Look at that. Cool. Let's throw that out, see if that's going to be where we go from now on. ACLU of Kansas, take action now. Campaigns, here we go. All sorts of stuff. News and events. Let's check out the events section. Great information, though. I'm going to save this for myself to go through a little bit later. But awesome, cool. So we have this right here. Hugely helpful. Glad I found that. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Kentucky is up next. Louisville, whatever, is what I got better results on. And over here, new protest. Sort by new. No, despite church protest today. Okay, this isn't great, but what's up with the protests? Cool. I know people assume this is in bad faith, but I assure you it's not. I'm a vote blue no matter who kind of person. I believe the blah, blah, blah. A peaceful protest is important. Peaceful protest is the first step. The anarchist library, how to start. Okay, so I definitely need help on this one. This is Kentucky. So if anyone's out in Kentucky, we're here for you. But also, I would like if you were here for us. Louisiana. Let's check it out. Let's just leave this one over here. Who cares? Protest. Protesters outside of Tesla. Are they still going on? ICE protest, Monroe protest postponed, keep ICE out, Cancer Alley. Cool. Could anyone explain the reasoning behind ICE? Protest postponed, 8/17. Outside sources have advised us to postpone the weekend's protest, largely due to reports of other detention centers retaliation on detainees. Oof. Gross stuff. Keep ICE out of Louisiana. So there's a little bit on here, but it's not super helpful. Yep, add Louisiana to the list of places that I need help on. And we'll go to Maine. Just the regular Maine Reddit. Looks like I had the best luck on. No King's protest. Yeah, this does pop up a lot of stuff right away. 1 day ago. That's not what I need. Well, I'll leave that up anyway. Maine taxpayer explain release the Epstein files protest. Ooh, that's by 50/51. So that's going to be a couple days before Labor Day, which is great as well. These are all right. So not a ton on here. This guy is a known neo-Nazi fascist, not a far-right activist. The article says he wears Hitler t-shirts. In June, he ran a sparsely attended pro-ICE deportation protest. Not calling fascists what they are in this day and age is dangerous and irresponsible. Agreed. Yeah, if you live in this area, make sure this man can't win his way into office. That's gross. Release the Epstein files protest. I didn't know this existed, but we can totally. I'll throw this in with my other 50/51 stuff when I go through that later. This just says I'm proposing a protest, but I guess it's not official yet. But it does look like it's gaining some traction, so good to know. And that puts us on to Maryland. That'll be our last one for today. So, Maryland protest. New. How do you find info on protests? Thanks, guys. Where can I find out where and when protests are happening? Cool. Thanks, guys. Reddit.com protest finder USA. Look at that. That's great. Mobilize.us, indivisible.org. Cool. Protest finder USA. Where's this other one? We'll go through these in a second. Indivisible. Cool, I saw that. I believe Maryland protests exists. Nope, it does not. That's what the guy said. That's what the Reddit said, not what I would say. Cool. So Protest Finder USA. Bada boom. This appears to just be general. What's this one? Good. Good. Love it. Existence is resistance. Okay, that's the Peoria one that I was looking at. This is the one that we're going to go over for basically everything. And I'll show you that that's in basically every state. I can't imagine. Last time I looked, it didn't seem like there were any states missing, and there were more showing up in the time I was looking, so I think there's going to be a lot of those. Mobilize.us is a spot that you can check. Map. Yeah, looks like you can look for yourself. Yeah, nice. This is pretty thorough as well, so we can use this going forward. Talk about some stuff we can find. It's great. Cool. So that one's good. And Indivisible. In America, we don't do kings. Yeah, this is the same guy. Join the movement. Find a local event. Cool. So this is where you're probably going to want to go. And again, they have a map too. was mobilized.us/indivisible, the same one I was just on? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so that's the same thing. I'm not going to save it twice, but that looks like a great resource. And that is 10 more states for today. So I'm going to look at, if you are just looking at what's going on in general, maybe not just to attend, but to kind of know what people are talking about. Our protest exists. You can just check out what's going on around the country in this space, get ideas for your own, help organize, whatever you need. And then 5051 is countrywide, and they set up, they organize protests countrywide, so they are good for anyone anywhere to look at. You can go to directly to their website, which I'll go to in just a second. Yeah, just showing you that this covers stuff kind of all over the place. Let's go 5051 here, events, and if you were to jump over to this, the next one they're putting on are the Labor Day ones I was talking about, and I don't have my list anymore. Well, that's all right. I'm just about out of time here anyway, so I'm just going to show you this website. This last time I looked, this was at 10, so these are springing up all over the place. This is a great spot to look for stuff. I do think I found one state that didn't have one. Yeah, Delaware. Nope, Delaware's got one now. Look at that. Cool. So they did not last time. Stuff is always showing up. This is a great resource for you to use. Anyway, that brings me to the end of this stream.